I'm Dr. Natalie Phillips, host of Just Connect, a show where we chat about connections through social media, learning opportunities, and through the people we meet every day. Join me every Wednesday on Facebook Live at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I am an audiologist, a business owner, an entrepreneur, and a connector. This life is about connecting for the right reasons and to the right people. I believe making authentic and true connections lead to growth, change, and impacting the world.
Hello, hello, hello. So I was doing some sharing. That's why I kind of clicked off or clicked over a little bit later. But welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Wednesday. I am Dr. Natalie Phillips, and I am your host of Just Connect. Hello, Marcus Stone and Anthony, two of my favorite AutoFam people, and thank you for joining. I'm super excited to actually talk to you today, and we are going to just put up a few things here. There we go. And I want to talk more about saying yes and saying no. This has been on my mind, and it kind of started from somebody doing a topic, and I was thinking about, man, like, do people always say yes, or do people balance themselves out and say no? So I wanted to talk about that today, and I sat down once with a councilwoman for lunch, and it was interesting because she sat and talked to me about 1 year where she just said yes to everything. Like, yes to everything. And I don't know how that makes you feel. Put it up in the comments. But I was like inside, I was like nodding and like smiling at her. But inside, I was like, holy cow. Hello, Patty Ramos. Good to see you. We're talking about yeses and nos. And Diane Uzelac, I am going to say her name correctly, says yes to everything. Okay. So this is what I want to talk about, because I know that there are people out there that totally believe in saying yes to everything. And so this councilwoman that I sat down with for lunch was telling me about the year that she spent saying yes to everything. And I was just like, there's no way that I could do it. I don't know how you guys feel. Give me some hearts and say yes, I always say yes, or no, there's no way I say yes, or there's no, I always say no, whatever it is. Because I'd love to hear where you guys are on this topic. And Patty says, I've been told I have a hard time saying no. Right. See, that's the thing. I don't mind helping people out, and I don't mind doing different things, but sometimes you've got to preserve your energy. So this is just such an interesting topic to me. So I'm hoping this is interesting to you too. And, I didn't want to sit here and challenge people like, yes, you're going to say yes to everything. Let's try it out, you guys, because I don't know if I believe in that. I just don't feel like you can say yes to everything. And Diane Uzelac, if you watch this on the replay, if you're not on yet, you're probably going to be say yes to everything. But I honestly don't think that I could do it just for me. And I don't know how you guys feel. On the other hand, I didn't want to focus on encouraging you to say no, because I feel like you have to branch out as well. What is Anthony saying? Anthony says, it's not good to say yes to everything, but most people need to learn to just say yes and go all in professionally and personally. Yeah, that's true. I think there's a good balance, right? I want to hear from the people also that say yes to everything, because I want to hear the reasoning behind it. So if you're one of these people, put it up in the comments. If you're watching the replay, put it up in the comments, because I'm seriously interested in what makes this urge to feel like you want to say yes to everything. And then do you put a time limit on it? Good job, Marcus. He says, I say no to drugs. So I'm so proud of you. And Patty says, I always look at every opportunity as a learning experience, but it can get out of hand. I totally agree, Patty. I totally agree. So where does this leave this? If I'm not going to tell you to say yes to everything, if I'm not going to tell you to say no to everything, where does this leave us? And what am I going to talk about today? First, I wanted to talk about saying yes. Let's examine saying yes first. And what does that mean? I really think that when you say yes, it really opens a door for you for new things to happen. But I really wanted to think about when you say yes, like what happens? Like what happens when you do say yes? So I came up with a couple of different points that I wanted to go over, and let's just talk about it. So number one, when you say yes, I truly believe that you become more of an interesting person. And I feel like you learn so many things and you have all these different experiences that you're able to talk about them and share it with people when you have coffee or you catch up with them, or you become a little more well-rounded and more knowledgeable. And so, as you're telling your stories around the table, it becomes where you actually become more of an interesting person. I also feel when you do become more interesting, maybe that will excite, or maybe that will infect other friends, however you want to look at it, with your enthusiasm to venture out themselves. And so I feel like as you start to have these different experiences and as you start to become a little more interesting than you were maybe yesterday, that it might actually spark the interest of some of your other friends, and it can push you to become even more creative to do things differently. If you continue to say yes and yes and yes, maybe you're saying yes to the same things, but maybe you want to do it in a different way. So I feel like that creates some different types of, or it pulls out more creativity, and it helps you become more interesting. Hello, Melissa Burrow. Good to see you. And Anthony says, that's dope, Marcus. I don't know what he said. And Patty says, I'm that person. I want to learn things from every experience. Therefore, she has a problem saying no. And Marcus says, I don't mind saying yes to certain things I'm unfamiliar with because sometimes you have to take risks. Absolutely, Marcus. If it doesn't work out, you've learned something at least. Oh my gosh, I totally agree. So number one, what happens when you say yes is that I really believe you become more of an interesting person. Number two is it boosts your confidence. Every time you say yes, it boosts your confidence. I mean, do you remember the last thing that you actually said yes to? Do you remember the next thing that you said yes to? I bet you did. And guess what, you guys? You're still alive because you're on my live right now. So it didn't kill you to say yes. And, I feel like when you continue to say yes and it boosts your confidence, that you're not just going to wait anymore for the opportunities, but you're actually going to create opportunities. Hello, Corey Workman. Hello, Dina Kelly. Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for joining me on live, on my live show today. And we're talking about yeses and nos, and we're really examining what happens when you say yes. I believe that as your confidence boosts, then saying yes becomes second nature, and maybe you'll talk to more people that will lead to more offers, more ideas, and it just snowballs. And you feel less scared and you're more willing to take risks, which is what exactly Marcus said. Number three, so, we talked about how saying yes boosts your confidence, how saying yes makes you more of an interesting person. Number three, I believe that when you say yes, you start to understand that failure is okay. There'll be moments where you're scared to fail. I totally get it. There'll be moments where people say that you're never going to be successful, doing what you're doing. But there's that old saying, I think you'll miss 100% of the shots you do not take, right? In fact, I just used that with my son, who is on this challenge by his basketball coach to shoot 400 shots a day. Well, at least three times a week. He does it at least 5 times a week. But, I was talking to him about, you'll miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Well, there's that other part of the coin that you flip that if the more shots you take, the more you actually might make, right? So take the shot. Yes, Marcus, take that shot. And you'll be better prepared to, if you do fail, that you'll just get right back up and dust yourself off, I think, a lot faster. And I truly believe, I think Marcus said this earlier in the comments, is that people both learn from success and from failure. But I truly believe, as a tiger mom, that you give me your best effort, and, success to me is always giving your best effort. Corey says, as the Mythbusters always said, failure is always an option. I love that show, Mythbusters. I love it. It's the science in me, I think. And just watching, how they create things, how they invent things, and whether they succeed or fail, right? All right, number 4, what happens when you say yes is, I believe, asking becomes easier. It becomes easier for you. Saying yes does not necessarily mean that you're simply going to step outside of the box, but it becomes where you learn to be vulnerable yourself. and ask if you need help, or ask if you don't know something. And I think that saying yes allows you to be vulnerable so that you can ask for things easier and you become more confident in asking. The last thing about why or what happens when you say yes is that you learn how to say no. Isn't that funny? I thought that was the funniest thing, is like typically the more you say yes, what's happening by default is that you are pretty much saying no to everything else. Ding, 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 ding. I mean, it like totally went off in my head like, oh my gosh, actually when you're saying yes, you're having to say no to everything else. So what happens when you say yes? You actually have to learn how to say no. So there's that balance right there, you guys. So life continues to get busy and you get busier and busier and your energy goes and people are coming, to ask you questions or ask you for help. And you're just giving. And you start to understand what is something that's right to do and what's something that's wrong to do. And I feel like if you don't actually say yes to some of these things, you will not be able to weigh what are you going to decide to do and what are you going to decide to let go? Because when you say yes, you are typically saying no to other things. And I think that's just the funniest thing ever, because you don't think that you're saying no because you're so focused on the yes, right? And so saying yes leaves you with so many options that you will have to say no. But what's interesting is, we talked about what happens when you say yes, which is you become more of an interesting person. It boosts your confidence. You understand that failure is okay. You become able to ask for things easier, and you learn how to say no. But what happens when you say no? It boosts your confidence. Same thing. How is saying yes and how is saying no still boosting your confidence? I think there's that balance, right? It can grow independence. Saying no can grow independence because you are making that decision, right? And then it can grow relationships, which I think is the craziest thought, is that saying no can actually help grow relationships. But I think when in the process of saying no, you are creating those boundaries. That's what we talk about. That's what we strive for, right? Is how do you say yes? How do you say no? But really in the process, you are creating these boundaries left and right. Hello, Heather Wolf. Thanks for joining in. What's everybody else saying? Marcus is roaring at me for being a tiger mom, and Anthony is saying, say no to saying yes all the time. I know. Don't you think like we're just talking in a circle now? Say yes, say no. Saying yes is actually saying no. And Anthony says, say no to say yes. Okay. If I haven't confused you, then, I'm going to confuse you even further, right? Okay. So, I really think at the end of all of this, just kind of thinking about it, that you really do have to be able to say yes and to say no. And I think it's healthy. So I hope, Diane Uzelak, if you come in and watch this, because I know you are one of those people that say yes to, that encourage people to say yes to everything, that it really is healthy to be able to say yes and to say no, and to be able to decipher and to weigh these things appropriately, and to learn about what it is that you need to do, right? And when to say yes and when to say no. So I have a challenge for you, because I always have a challenge. I always have homework. I'm that tiger mom because I think it's super important. Okay, so my challenge today for you guys is for the rest of the year. Okay, put it up somewhere, maybe in your office at home. Put it as a note in your phone, Marcus. This is for you to make another note so that you can catch up with my almost 200 notes in my phone. Make a note in your phone, okay? But this is what we're going to do for the rest of the year. I want you to make a list of what do you say yes to and what are you saying no to? So that at some point at the end of the year, you can actually look back and reflect and say, oh man, yeah, that was an opportunity that I probably should have said yes to, but I said no, or vice versa. I said no to that and I should have said yes, one thing. And then the next thing is, okay, I did say yes or no to that, and this is what happened, and this is what was successful or this was not successful. So this is always a learning experience for me. This is always something that I want to share and bring you along if you want to do this with me. But I want to start having you guys do some work where you're really examining what are you saying yes to and what are you saying no to. And then that way you can kind of look back and reflect and see what really worked, and maybe that will be more helpful for the next year and for people approaching you and for you understanding where to put your energy. I think that is really one of the things that's super important to me, is understanding boundaries, setting up boundaries, understanding your energy and where to put it. What else is people saying? What are you guys saying out here? So Anthony says it's almost as confusing as asking you if you're heading north, south, east, or west. I know, isn't it? Because, when I was on Anthony's show earlier this week, I talked about how I have to do the north, south, east, west, where west is mountains, and I can't even do that. I don't even want to go into that. Corey says, sometimes saying no is so good for the soul and the work you're trying to do. Absolutely. And that's why I really think that saying yes and saying no has to be a balance, and you have to know yourself. All right. So thank you guys so much for joining in. Brad Smith, good to see you. You'll have to go back and watch the replay. I'm going to pop up a few things here just as a reminder. I want to show you that I do have a YouTube channel. So if you have missed any of my episodes, go to the YouTube channel, look up Dr. Natalie Phillips, hit subscribe, and then don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you are notified every time I have an episode that pops in. And then I also wanted to, if you want to share this out here, tell people to go to Dr. Natalie Phillips, follow that page, like it, and then see first, and also then turn on your notifications so you know that when I go live. And I wanted to put that up as well. So thank you guys so much for joining me live today on Just Connect, talking about yeses and nos. And I appreciate you all, and have a good evening, and I will see you next week.